So hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Content Matters podcast. I have got with me today Andrew Sevillia, who is a customer advocacy and customer marketing professional. Over 15 years of experience, he has working for companies like Sage Intacct, NetSuite, Juniper Networks. At Sage Intacct, he grew the company's referenceable client base from 200 to 2,000, which is pretty darn incredible, really. And he's interviewed thousands of customers. He's produced over 700 customer stories, 300 customer testimonial videos, and an untold, I assume, number of blogs and press releases. And I saw Andrew on LinkedIn, and I was listening to some of the stuff he was saying, and I thought you'd be a really great person to talk to. So I think you're going to have some really great experiences to share with us. So I wanted to thank you for joining the podcast.
Thanks, Barb. What a pleasure. What an honor to be a part of your podcast.
I really appreciate it. I don't think we've talked to anybody in the customer advocacy space yet, so I think we're going to have some really good stuff to talk about. So
we're out there. You know, it's funny. The customer advocacy space has been just growing by so much momentum in the space. So you know, lots of folks getting involved in it. It's a category that's really taking off.
Cool. So let's start with kind of at the very beginning then, and can explain to us what customer advocacy means and how does it differentiate from customer success?
Yeah, absolutely. They are two distinct roles within a lot of organizations. So customer advocacy to me means inclusive of all customers across, you know, what products they purchase, their size, what industry or you know, they're in, right? So when I think about customer advocacy, I think about finding opportunities to bring customers together, to understand, to give them a platform to share their stories, and then harnessing the power of those stories, broadcasting those stories to a broad audience, with the hopes of distinguishing customers as thought leaders and industry experts within their space. When I think about customer success, what I think about is a function of either sales, typically sales,
Right.
where, you know, it's a group of folks who are assigned to a group of customers, maybe by industry or by products purchased, something like that. And their function, among other things, is to ensure that customers are successful. Training, you know, opportunities to engage and learn more about how to use your product to become experts at it. But they're also focused on renewals, sometimes upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So, you know, customer advocacy and customer success, you know, if all goes according to plan, are very closely attached and are in very regular communication about customer satisfaction, health, you know, who are the primary points of contact within an account that a customer advocacy person should reach out to. So yeah, there's a strong bond between customer success and customer advocacy. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that you said was that goes kind of hand in hand with customer advocacy is customer marketing, which as a marketer myself, I kind of feel kind of silly that I've never actually really heard that term before. So can you kind of explain to me kind of what is customer marketing and how do the two of those fit together?
Yeah, so when I think about customer marketing, I think about land and expand. I think about opportunities to grow the business within an account. And I think about how customer advocacy can support that, right? By providing customer advocates to speak on webinars, to participate in case studies, to participate in video testimonials that can be used to do install-based marketing. Right. So if we think about a company that's made not only an investment in the kind of basic application, but also added additional modules that we have to offer. So those customer stories can be used to put in front of customers who have only really invested in the basic application. And so this is an opportunity to create awareness of other modules that we offer. Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, actually. And I think it kind of goes with another question that I actually was going to say for later on, but we're going to do it now because it kind of rolls right in, is kind of using customer advocacy across the organization instead of, I guess, having demand gen, product marketing. They all kind of want to do their own customer testimonials, customer videos. Like, that's where you guys can come and play as the customer advocacy team to kind of do that for them or to provide that service to them?
Yeah, that's 100% right. And I've been to a number of organizations where advocacy is sort of spread across a number of organizations, a number of teams, right? So you might have PR might have a piece, product marketing might have a piece, demand gen might have a piece, sales, SDRs, whoever, but they're not necessarily syncing with each other. So you might have a situation where customers are getting pinged by a number of different teams within your company. And it's just not a good look, right? If you have a customer who's like, look, your sales team just reached out to me last week and now you're asking me to speak on a webinar. So really what customer advocacy brings is organization, right? A kind of central place for all teams across the business to say, hey, Andrew, or, hey, customer advocacy person, we really need more stories to fit into this industry that we're trying to penetrate, right? Or, we need more sales references to take calls from prospects as they're making their purchase decision. And so those asks sort of funnel through your customer advocacy program. And here's the thing. I try to make it really clear that I don't own the customer. Right. We all own the customer. We all have the pleasure of owning, a piece of the relationship, right? And so, it just brings order to what could be chaos and customer burnout. That's the worst thing you don't want to do is, keep paying the same customers over and over and over again. So what customer advocacy brings is a plan to recruit and onboard customers into the customer advocacy journey, right? And so we are supporting, you name it, right? Customer marketing, product marketing, advocacy, sales support. I mean, there's not an organization within the company that doesn't want to have a piece, right? Some connection to customers, and so we bring that.
Yeah, I've been in marketing teams where someone says, we need to get more case studies. And it's just like someone has to kind of think about, well, who can we ask and are they ready to talk to us? And the whole process has just seemed really fuddled and confusing. So I like the idea of a program that kind of focuses on that customer, and how to build that relationship directly. I really like that idea, actually. So
I was just going to say one more thing on that is, if we think about this customer lifecycle journey, if the first thing you do is you reach out to a customer and you say, hey, will you do a case study? That's not the right way to go about it, right? There's a lot of time and effort that needs to be put into building the relationship with customers. And the way that I pitch this is, hey, I want to position you as a thought leader. I want to find opportunities for you to tell your story, right? And it starts out with like low lift, right? Like, hey, could you share this tweet? Or, hey, we've got a user group coming up in your city. Would you mind joining, right? I mean, it's really low lift asks. And then as you build the relationship, as you hit those milestones, then you can start saying, hey, we would love to spend more time. We have a few bits and pieces on your story, but we really want to formalize it. So would you mind sharing, spending half an hour, 45 minutes with us, and we can fill in the gaps. And by the end, at the end, we're going to have this nice, polished customer story case study, to put through the review and approval process. And this is going to be a great way to, again, position you as a thought leader, as an industry expert, that sort of thing. So
does that, oh my gosh, I had a question. I lost it because you made a great point there. Well, let's go with this one first. So what does the program actually look like? Or what are the key elements of an advocacy program, and who's typically involved to kind of create that program and run the program?
Yeah, I mean, it's your marketing team. It's somebody, it's a VP within your marketing team, or it could be your CMO, who's recognized the importance of the voice of the customer.
Right.
And it's typically someone like myself will be brought in. And here's the first thing you really need to do is you need to do an internal roadshow to all teams and organizations across the business to make your case for why this is important and why we need the buy-in from across the organization, right? It's a really important idea to identify key stakeholders within sales, within marketing, within product management, within exec staff, like you name it, right? Like there's got to be buy-in from all of the teams, and there should be one person at least from across the teams that's going to support the advocacy program once it's fully launched, right?
Yeah.
So here's kind of the fundamentals though of what I think needs to be in place is this mindset that advocacy is a team sport. We're all invested in this. It's not just one person. It's nobody's part-time job. It's something that we should all be thinking about. How are we going to recruit customers into our advocacy program? And it starts again towards the end of the sales cycle when prospects are thinking about making a purchase. The sales team can do a quick pitch for, hey, by the way, we've got this amazing advocacy program. Here's what it's about. Here's what's in it for you. Here's how we're going to position you again as thought leaders, industry experts. And then as they're going through their professional services, the products being implemented, again, those folks towards the end of the implementation could be doing a quick pitch for, hey, we're really excited to have you a customer. We want to, share the news with the world about how amazing, this is going to be for you, and here are some ways that we do that. Once the handover to customer success happens, again, hey, we're so excited to have you. We'd love for you to be, a speaker on a panel someday, or sharing your experience with an analyst. So you're sort of seeding the idea, right, of joining an advocacy program. And then, once they've moved into the customer success phase, then someone like myself would be introduced and again, doing a more formal pitch for the program. But really, there's kind of three main pillars of a successful advocacy program. And this isn't my idea. This is something that one of the vendors that I worked with for many years, this is really their mindset is, there's this acronym, it's DNM, Discover, Nurture, Mobilize. And I can go into detail about what those are.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So yeah, at the discover stage, customers are sending you signals, and it's really incumbent upon the advocacy person or team to be interpreting those signals. So at the discover stage, you're looking at things like NPS responses. You're looking at, did they attend the user group? Did they write a review? Did they, how did their renewal go? Did they add more licenses? Did they add more modules, right? So those are all kind of signals that you're interpreting going, this customer's having a pretty good experience. I would like to recruit them for my advocacy program. So you can kind of shortlist, right? That's your target list of folks, right? And then at the nurture phase, that's where you're providing all sorts of educational opportunities. So, this is where you partner with your education training folks to track a customer's journey through the training, through the onboarding. Because here's the thing is we need customers to be wildly successful with our applications in order for us to feel comfortable putting that customer in front of a prospect or in front of an analyst or speaking to the press, right? So you're sort of tracking their journey through that, again, onboarding, enablement, training piece. And then the mobilize stage is where you're actually putting in front of customers what are called acts of advocacy. And again, this is a wide spectrum, a range of opportunities for customers to advocate. And like I said, it can be low-lift things like, hey, share this tweet. We wrote a blog post, can you comment on it? Hey, we've got a user group, all the way through, come to our conference and get on stage with our, someone from our exec staff to talk about your use case, talk to an analyst, all the things, right?
Yeah. It sounds to me, and it's actually quite interesting to think of it this way, is if you bring a customer on, or you're trying to, make that final deal with a customer, and you're telling them about this program, that if it's someone who wants to do that, wants to be a thought leader, but hasn't figured out how to do it yet, it's almost like you can win them as a customer, because you're going to help them take that kind of next step and grow that vision of themselves out there. That's pretty cool.
I couldn't agree with you more, Barb. I'm sorry, I couldn't cut you off there, but I couldn't agree with you more, because if I think about my career, or maybe you think about yours, we're so focused on doing our job and hitting our MBOs and focusing on work stuff that we don't necessarily have the time or the energy or the resources, right, to do the thought leadership stuff. I really admire and I commend folks who can fit in. Hey, I'm going to do some thought leadership, every day, right? I'm going to work on a blog post, or I'm going to find ways, right, to tell the world about who I am and what I do. So you're 100% right. Is I want to provide opportunities for folks. I want to do the heavy lifting for them too, to tell their stories and to gain more visibility for the success that they're having, and the decisions that they've made and the impact of those decisions. Yeah.
Is there it sounds like it's something that every industry can take advantage of and do well, but are there some industries that are doing it more or doing it better than other ones?
I mean, I've really only had opportunities to run advocacy programs for B2B companies that are using, in my case, cloud accounting software, right? So think about NetSuite, think about Sage Intacct. But I am involved, and I participate in a lot of customer advocacy, groups, and we have various conferences and that sort of thing. And so you're right. There's people attend these advocacy conferences from across the spectrum, B2C, B2B. I've seen it work really well in the B2C space too, because, if you're affiliated with a brand, let's say, you really like to shop at Sephora, and Sephora is offering opportunities to, position you as a leader within, the, makeup category, right, or the cosmetics category. That's a cool thing, and a lot of folks are looking for a way to connect with their peers and get access to information that maybe isn't readily available on the internet, right? So
that's kind of, I can see it kind of going everywhere. Maybe different slices and dice it differently, but you can see it kind of working for all kinds of companies. So the other thing that I thought was interesting is that you said it's also good to use or to leverage your customers and the voice of the customer to talk to the media and to talk to analysts, which I think is also a great idea. But is there ever a concern that there might be negative things said about the company as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want people to tell the truth, right? I would never ask anyone, a customer, anyone, to sugarcoat things or, avoid talking about certain things. Here's the thing, though, Barb, is that the folks that I'm asking to, putting the opportunity to talk to analysts and press, those folks are people who I've typically worked on 5, 6, 7 acts of advocacy. So I have a really good understanding of what their story is, right? So they've almost been qualified, right? In a sense that I kind of know they're going to say really positive things because I've already documented their story across a case study, a blog post, a press release, a video testimonial. They've spoken on a webinar. Talking to the press and analysts is not something that I put in front of a brand new advocate. It's somebody who I've built that relationship and connection with, and we've worked together for a number of years. But one thing one thing about this though is that net new advocates, they're gonna, one of the things I might ask them to do is to go write a review on one of the peer review sites, G2, Trust Radius. And so, if somebody writes a less than stellar review on a review site, that's actually an opportunity, in my opinion. I'm a little fearful that customer might churn, right? If they give us a 1-star review and they call out all these challenges or problems that they're having. So when we get those, the first thing we do is we do a root cause analysis. We sort of read through the review to understand what is it exactly that the challenge that they're facing. Is it something related to training? Is it that their implementation didn't go correctly, whatever? And so then I can connect with the customer success team, the support team, and maybe even the training education team to activate or execute a plan to help that customer to change their experience, right? To have a better experience, right? And the one thing that I've noticed about this, Barb, is that after you've executed that plan and the customer is in a better place, they become some of your strongest advocates. They become some of the people who, because here's the thing is, a lot of companies say we're customer centric, but what does that really mean? What does that really mean? If a customer is telling you, I'm not having a good experience, are you going to ignore that, or are you going to do something about it? And the companies that do something about it, those are the ones that truly are, in my opinion, customer centric.
Yeah, I agree with that. Everybody tosses that term around, and I would argue that most companies, or a lot of companies, aren't customer centric for that reason. They don't pay attention to their customers. So can any customer be an advocate? Are there certain things that you look for to choose who you want to be in your advocacy program?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't want to say all customers can be advocates, because here's kind of the industry, benchmark on this is you want to have at least 10% of your install base customers in your advocacy program. So if you think about, a company that has 10,000 customers, I mean, it's a 10% of that, right? Is who you're hoping to recruit into your advocacy program. You can absolutely add more, but to answer your question, though, not every company is going to be able to be advocates, because they might have some corporate guidelines that very clearly state we cannot endorse our vendors, right? Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. That means I can't do anything that's public with that company, but they might be able to act as a sales reference, or they might be able to write a review, because the review sites allow you to remain anonymous. Right. You don't have to give your name and company and all that kind of stuff. So there are ways to activate folks as advocates that can't do anything public. Yes.
Yeah, I saw someone on LinkedIn who talked about the value of anonymous customer stories, which I thought was very interesting, because usually they say if you don't have a customer name behind it, the story doesn't matter. But I think that's kind of an intriguing idea, is to have anonymous customer stories.
Real quick on that, Barb, I've done anonymous customer stories, and we use a lot of descriptive language to help the reader understand who that customer is. Right. Yeah. You're not saying, let's say, for instance, Coca-Cola, but you're saying, one of the largest soft drink manufacturers, who's I think they're in Atlanta, that's based in, Atlanta.
And is no relation to the Koch brothers. Yeah.
Yes. None of that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. So must be challenges, though, when in kind of implementing and maintaining this program. What are the things that you kind of faced, and how did you deal with them?
Some of the challenges?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I've joined companies where for, some reason or another, we weren't able to get buy-in from, parts of the organization, or, maybe somebody on our exec staff thought, oh, this is a nice to have, but it's not really a critical, role, right? And so, fighting those kind of internal uphill battles, that can make things a bit of a struggle. So like I said earlier, doing that internal roadshow and getting the buy-in and identifying key stakeholders that are going to join your meetings, that are going to have input, that are going to be involved is really critical. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's earlier in my career, it was a bit challenging to get budget, right, for things like claiming the G2 profile, or or hiring a service to do transcription, or even getting budget to hire a video production team to do video testimonials. You need some budget if you're going to do this. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um, One of the other questions I was kind of curious about is, do you have to kind of go full blown into a customer advocacy program? Are there levels that you can build up to? Does it have to be a separate team? Like, these are tons of questions together, but they kind of go together. Or can it be handled by the marketing team or the customer success team? Like, how do you think is the best way to get started?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on a couple of things. So like if you're a fast growth startup, you probably don't need to invest in a full-blown advocacy tool, right? You can probably run things out of spreadsheets for a while, right?
Yeah.
Once you start hitting kind of critical mass and your sales team's humming and they're closing, many deals a quarter, and you start maybe looking at other industries that your company is trying to move into, that's when it might be wise to start thinking about harnessing the power of a customer advocacy tool, and there's a number of them on the market, and so they're all slightly different. They have a different value prop. I'll tell you one that I've used in a couple of companies is called Influitive.
Yeah, I've heard of that
And
one.
you've heard of it. Yeah, I think they've been around the longest. They probably have the most like brand recognition, and it's an amazing, powerful tool. But the thing about it is that these tools are not, again, they're not somebody's part-time job. There's somebody needs to be in these tools every day, creating these opportunities for customers to share their stories, going around to the different organizations within the business saying, hey, what are your goals and objectives? Because I have this tool that I can use to help you with, to help you achieve those goals. So I need you to give me insight into what you're doing so that I can go off and create these challenges, right? So yeah, I mean, I think you'll know when the time is right, because you'll be pulling all your hair out thinking, I can't do this in a spreadsheet anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, so I think it's typically within the marketing org. I mean, I've rolled into product marketing, I've rolled into PR, I've rolled into corporate marketing, but I think what you really need is a leader, your leader, who's going to give you the room to do this thing, right? Because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build relationships with customers, and you can't automate relationship building.
Yeah. So with that in mind, then, is it a certain type of person who could be a customer advocate? I guess you have to like be a certain way or have a certain kind of talent to talking to customers.
You're right. It was something that I wasn't like born a customer advocacy person. It took time to kind of develop the skills. And I think what it is truly at the heart of it is you have to be curious. You need to have the mindset that I'm going into this conversation and I just really want to learn about a customer and their story and how they got to where they are in their career and a little bit about them personally, right? Where they went to college, do they have any kids? Like I want to build a relationship that's not a customer vendor, it's more of a friendship, right?
Right.
And so that skill I think takes work. Putting people at ease, right? It's not all business. This should be fun.
Yeah.
This should be a fun opportunity to get to know someone and hear their story and and that sort of thing. So if you're very shy, this might not be right for you. If you're uncomfortable sharing about yourself, this might not be for you.
Does it help that you were a history teacher? Does that kind of feed into your ability to do this work?
Oh, that's a good.
Saw that in your profile. I had to ask you.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I think so. I mean, doing research, study, lots of reading, lots of thinking critically and sort of analyzing and really trying to put yourself in the shoes of the folks that you're speaking to, right? I mean, when you talk about history, it's like I always try to go to that place, right? Whatever it is, whatever event it was, to try to visualize what that experience was like. So Yeah, I think it helps.
Yeah.
One other thing I think that really helps is if you have like a writing background, if you're English major or something, or creative writing, that sort of thing, because you're doing a lot of writing, you're doing
Yeah.
a lot of editing, and so that helps a lot.
Yeah. And helping someone become a thought leader really requires that writer editor mindset, I think, definitely. So, yeah. Great. Well, this is a really good conversation. You've kind of told me a lot of stuff that I think is really interesting. I think people are really going to get a lot of value from it. So I appreciate your coming on.
My pleasure, Barb.
And yes, so I'm going to make sure that people know how to find you if they have any more questions about customer advocacy and how to set up their own programs, because I think you definitely sound like you've got lots of experience to share with everyone.
I love talking about this. It's like my favorite thing. I call it geeking out on customer advocacy. So yeah, happy to talk about this topic at length whenever.
That's great. All right. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
You got it, Barb. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening.